So laying up in store, boy, this lesson had a lot of rabbit holes. A lot of places I could have went. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't. But we're going to start out here because there's a story at the beginning of this on the warm-up. And I can say I did this with my brother. Trading nickels for dimes. I tell my brother, nickel's bigger. It's worth more. Trading nickels for dimes. Now, why did that work? He didn't understand the monetary value of a nickel and a dime. My dad caught wind of it. And he asked my brother, he says, Terry, how much is a dime worth? 10 cents. Terry, how much is a nickel worth? 5 cents. My dad just looked at him, then why would you trade your brother nickels for dimes if you knew? So I didn't get in trouble, come out a couple dollars ahead, but not a big deal. But we do that all day long. What's one of we got things going in this country right now, buildings here in Louisville. What's one of the biggest things they build anymore? Storage facilities. Apartment buildings are right. Storage facilities. Now, why do they need to build storage facilities? Because we have too much junk. When we cleaned out my mom and dad's house, I'm telling you, I was like, we are never going to get through this. Precious moments, figurines that my mom collected, all kinds of stuff. I've heard if you have a box in the garage for over 6 months and you've never even looked in it, you don't need what's in it. Get rid of it. Yeah, do you? See, we're a society that is a society that has been taught to think. The one with the most toys wins. I've heard that said for a long time. And there was a movie out years ago, I think it was called Greed is Good. That was one of the lines from the movie. Greed is good. It's not. Wall Street, I think, was the name of the movie. No, greed is not good. I work with people at Ford Motor Company, and this is new boat, $80,000 with the trailer. New truck to pull the boat, $80,000. That's $160,000 in a boat and a trailer. Then they got their $350,000 home. Then when we get to the place where we're at now, where we have not been working normal hours, all of a sudden, they don't have the money to pay their mortgage, or to pay their boat bill, or to pay the... Why? One thing I learned when I first started working at Ford was an older gentleman stopped me and he talked to me. He said, don't live on overtime. He said, whatever you do, don't live on overtime. Because overtime goes away. He said, we've been having it good here at Ford for quite a few years. He said, but when it goes away, it don't come with a notice. Hey, next week we're going, He says it comes fast and hard. And when it does, you can't send a note to the mortgage company or to the company that owns the mortgage on the boat and say, hey, we got to have a downturn, so I'm not going to be able to pay you today. Because we let our minds think that things, the biggest, the baddest, hey, and I'm right there too. I'm right in there. I like the newest tools. I go to Lowe's. Oh, I could use that right there. I saw a snowblower for the front of a zero turn. I said, I might be able to use that. Marketing does a great job of telling us what we need. Oh, you need this. I'm there to say most of the time we don't. If I didn't have it yesterday, all of a sudden my need is so great I got to go buy it today. Not so much. Mary asked me one time, why do you have 12 different hammers? I said, well, because there's 6 or 7 of them do different things. They're for different applications. The other ones are just backup. We don't need the stuff. I got stuff from my dad's garage at my house. I told Mary, I said, we're going to have a yard sale. I'm just going to get rid of it. Because I don't need it. We're talking about laying up treasures in heaven. See, when we buy all this stuff, what usually, you got to have shelter, you got to have, food, you got to have. What normally is something that goes away when people start spending the money out? I can tell you for a fact, I do not know how much we give. We give every week. We give a set amount every week, but I don't see it. It doesn't bother me that it's gone. But there are people who live their lives with so much stuff that what goes away is they were given like this, then the boat got it like this, then the trailer got it like this, then the big house got it like this, food got it like this. See, there's certain things we do need. When Jesus is talking about giving, he realizes that. There's verses that say, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's. What's that telling me? What did Caesar do? Tax the people. You got to pay your taxes. And it used to be back in the way back, if you didn't pay your taxes, the IRS don't wait. You owe them $5, tomorrow you owe them $6, the next day you owe them $7. Yeah, they come and get their money. Like the mob. You don't owe money to them. You don't owe money to the IRS. That's why these commercials, and some of you have heard these commercials, I owed the IRS $150,000. Now I got away with $1,500. Well, here, let me just say, everybody pays taxes. Guess who's paying that money? Us. When we don't think about where things go, I can find out, I get cash every week. I do have a debit card. It's for gas only. Don't use it very often. But I have money in my pocket. When that pocket gets empty and my billfold has no dollar bills left in it, I don't have money to spend until the next week. And I'm saying to myself, the 3 or 4 days I have to go with no money, why did I spend it? What did I do it? Spend this on, and that. And moderate how I spend that money, so at the end of the week, I have money. Well, that's hard to do. When we're talking about laying up treasures in heaven, what I learned is, doing this lesson, it's not so much about monetary. Because there are people that give lots of money grudgingly. That's not the good way to go. When we read about the rich young ruler, let me go to that verse here if I can find it right away here. And of course, I went to the wrong one. So, the rich young ruler comes and says, "Teacher, what good must I do to have eternal life?" Why do you ask me about what's good? If you want to if you want to enter into eternal life, keep the commandments. Which ones? Jesus answered, "Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, honor your father and mother, and love your neighbor as yourself." I've kept all these. What do I lack? What am I not doing? If you want to be perfect, and perfect there isn't meaning in the sense we think perfect, but it's meaning if you want to do what is right in God's eyes, this is somewhere where you're lacking. If you want, Jesus said, "Go sell your belongings and give to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven. Then come follow me." Okay, I'm going to break that down a little bit because this is one of these things where I had a hard time with this. I had a hard time with, if you want to be perfect, I had a hard time with that. Then I really looked into it, and Roger helped me out a little bit this morning. If you want to have a heart for God, this is what you need to do. God, what does it say here? It says, "Go sell your belongings and give to the poor." What does it not say? Now, and I may be wrong, but it doesn't say go sell all your belongings.
This is what this man lacked.
Yes.
He's not telling all of us to go sell all our possessions.
Yeah, and I want to make that clear because that is absolutely, this is for this gentleman right here who he is talking about. This is not a thing for us, but it is a thing for us to understand that when you get to a place where you have done checking all these, when I saw checking the, crossing all this stuff off, this was a place where this young man was lacking. Why? Because he had lots of money. Chris?
I can think of one another. I think maybe one Jesus heard.
Yes, yes. And that's an interesting story that Jesus has about and Chris, a very rich man, said, you know what? I don't have enough room to store everything I got, so I'm going to build a bigger barn. It's kind of like the story I told Corey. You know, Corey, my boy, he's a pretty big boy. There's not many people that are going to just walk up and mess with him because he's pretty stout. But I told him, I said, son, you think you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof? I will guarantee you there's somebody 11 foot tall and bulletproof. The story, I got so much stuff. I need to build a bigger barn. Well, what happens after he builds a bigger barn? You know what? I got more stuff now. I need another bigger barn. That's a danger we get into. He's talking to a rich young ruler and says, and like I said, it doesn't say go sell all your stuff. I think he took it as that. I used to think that's what it said. And maybe in another version, I'm in this Christian Standard Bible. But he says, follow me. Now let's just stop with everything else that went up there. We cannot get into heaven without following the last verse. Then come follow me. We can't. Doesn't matter how much stuff we give, how much stuff we have to give away, it doesn't matter if we're not doing it from a position of kneeling in front of God. If we're not doing it from the position, God, what can I do for you today? It's amazing to me how you read, every corner's got somebody. I'm poor, I don't have a job, I know how to work, I need, There's sometimes I pass them up and I'm going, what if that was Jesus standing there? Well, here's what I come up with. I don't think Jesus would be begging. I think Jesus would be, I shouldn't have to ask you for you to do this for me. There's one here we're going to look at in a minute, where it's talking about when you were hungry. Well, and as we go through all that litany of stuff, all of it, you fed me, you clothed me, you made sure I wasn't sick, you made sure. Now, I listed all them things, and all them things are like, these things that are talking is how we set our treasures in heaven. We help the hungry. We help the sick. We help whoever needs to be helped. If you go to a school and read a book, these kids, you're making an impact. For a while, I was taking donuts to the girls at Seven Brew every Sunday morning, taking donut holes. Little bitty thing. But guess what? When I pull in there now, they all know where I go to church, and they want to know, how going to church is going. I said, well, you need to come and see. That all started because I gave some donut holes away. And I never thought about it at all until a friend of mine says, well, what do you do? Because I stopped at Seven Brew. He was in the car. I had the donut holes again. He's like, you do this every time? No. He says, well, that's your ministry. What? Ain't no ministry. And to me, it's not. I love to be able to give things to people when I have the money, the time. Simple stuff. And when we go visit the shut-ins, we go visit the sick. And right now, by the way, Larry and we need to really be praying for Mr. Larry Lewis, his wife, because she is at home with him because he refused to do PT. And she's having to do it herself. There's a ministry. I don't know how we get to Mr. Larry. They say, dude, you need to do this so your wife ain't killing herself. And I don't know how that's worked out. I just know he's home, and I know from when I talked to my wife, and it wasn't good that he was going home. We need to pray about that. When we send up our prayers, for people, praying for people is part of doing what the Lord would have us do. Because there is no monetary amount of money that you can give that gets you the golden ticket into heaven. There's just not. No amount of money you give gives you the golden ticket into heaven. We can see that in Lazarus and the rich man. Very rich man. And the rich man wasn't mean to Lazarus. He just ignored him. He didn't go out of his way to make Lazarus' life miserable. It was already miserable. But he ignored his needs. And that's when I feel bad about driving down the road and see these people. Don't ignore people's needs. There's people in our congregation that have needs. And this is a congregation that does really well with their people. And this congregation has needs. That is one, like I say, the one little, if you get a stamp, okay, Rick's got a stamp today. I know that don't happen, but I'm just making a, because if we think we can give all our money and get into heaven, we can't. But we can also have no money and not get there because we're going, oh, poor me. What am I supposed to do now? I come from a whole different generation, and a whole lot of you do too. When you go to work, you go to work. Plain and simple. I've worked at Ford Motor Company for over 26 years now, and for the first 24 of it, we never had a snow day. Now we've had snow days. And I say it's because these pansies won't drive to work. Plain and simple. They want a day off. I talk to them. Hey, are we going to be off tomorrow because of the snow? Hey, there's a bad snowstorm coming on Tuesday. Are we going to be off? Well, we're already off on Tuesday. Why do you need to be off again? I don't understand it. I really don't. And it's really a whole different generational thought of how we travel through this world. If we don't teach our kids, I'm going to call it the art of giving. And the art of giving is not just money, the art of giving time, love. Sometimes it's just talk to me. Ask me how I'm doing. Now, every one of us know, especially guys know, if another guy asks you how you're doing, oh, I'm fine. And we don't press. Guys don't press. Because he's doing fine. Why would I have to press? He told me. Sometimes you have to press. Because I guarantee you, if Mr. Larry told you he was doing fine, I'd have to call him a liar. Say, come on now. What do you need? What can I help you with? What can we do for you? As we go through life, so many opportunities come up. So many things come up that we can have interaction with unchurched and churched that has an impact on their lives. Laying up treasures in heaven, for me, after reading all this Bible verses and all these things, is about giving of yourself. Plain and simple. I mean, when you look at the rich young, what do? I go sell your stuff. Give it to the debt. Give it away. And follow me. It's about doing. We can give a whole lot of money without it doing anything. You know, there are times in the summer the youth group goes around and gives bottled waters out because it's so hot. Truckload of water. They'll just go out and give. They see people standing on the road, see guys working somewhere, go and give water. This is what ran through my mind. One person gets that bottle of water from the youth at Okolona Church of Christ. And he drinks that water and says, you know, there's something else I need to do. Then he tells his kids about this church group that came around and gave him water. You see how things go? You see where I'm going here? I mean, all of a sudden, that one little bottle of water turned into a lake because you gave it to somebody who went and told his kids, and his kids told their friends. And all of a sudden, this starts a massive movement about love. One of the worst days in the last year that I can remember was when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Broke my heart. Not that he is the end-all be-all, just he's not. But our youth, the youth of this country, were starting into a movement that he started because of him. He knew how to give other than giving. He gave his time. He went all over doing these things. It's really simple. We're in Okolona, Kentucky. I mean, there ain't like 20 million people we got to go do something for. But if you're giving water to 1, 2, 3, 4 people, if you're helping somebody with a meal, it talks about when you're going to give, don't wear a fancy suit, jump up and down, hey, with the sign, I'm giving money. No. That's not what we're supposed to do. I'm going to tell you what I like to do. I like to go into a restaurant when I'm by myself eating lunch. This is when it normally happens. I'll see somebody eating lunch. And you can tell the guys that have the money and the ones that don't. And this has been a while back, but the guy said he was getting a Coke. That's all he could afford. And I just told the waitress, I said, just get him a meal. Well, he can't afford it. I can. I like to do that. I haven't had a meal bought for me 2 or 3 times. I'm looking around. I'm standing up, looking around the restaurant. Okay, who knows me? Who's seen me? Who? Why? It makes you feel good to receive, and it ought to make you feel good to give, because it really does. I told Matthew one day, I said, Matthew, we're going to buy their lunch. We were up here at the mall at Max Orient, and his family came in. There were 4 of them, and I could tell just the way they were dressed. They weren't dressed to really go to the mall. You know, it wasn't bad. I said, I'm going to buy their food. He said, why? I said, look, just kind of pay attention. I said, they got 2 little girls, my mom and dad, and it's not going to cost me anything. You know, maybe, I don't know where it went after that, because they got their food and they left. That doesn't bother me either, because that's what I wanted. I didn't want praise, and, I don't do anything for that. That's not even the fun part of giving. We are taught to give faithfully, to give without thinking about it. When we have to think about our giving, we kind of lose the point. A lot of the stuff that I read was in the New Testament, but there's one verse from the Old Testament, and I hope it makes sense when I read it. But it kind of shows how God looks at us when we give. Bring the full tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down on you a blessing until there is no more need. It's a challenge. You can't outgive me. And I love it when you try. We cannot outgive God. And I'm amazed at, I look at the kids here, the little ones here. I look at my grandson, Bo. What a blessing. It's beyond my comprehension. The kids, you got Luke's kids. You got all kinds of children here. Harlow and Barron and Jesse. Blessings. Sometimes we may think they're not blessings. If you have been here on Wednesday nights when the screaming starts, man, it pierces the ears. But it's better than no noise. Because that says something. It says this church is alive. We have a great congregation here. We give very generously. When we give of our time and of our money and of our love, and a lot of times it don't cost anything to give of your time, but your time. It don't cost anything to love somebody. We can give our money. I mean, what's $10? What's $20? When I look at my billfold and go, I got too much money in here, which don't happen very often. But there are times when you're going, this is going to cost me $30. I have 31, but it don't matter. This is going to cost me something, but it don't matter. That's what God wants from us, right there. He wants us to give so much, and he's telling us, I'm going to give it back to you, and it's going to be more than you can have, more than you'll ever know. How do we lay up treasures in heaven? We love everybody. We give unselfishly. We give above and beyond what we give for contribution. We give. Sometimes it's no more than a hug. Hey, what's up? All of us can tell when somebody's hurting. What's up? What can I do for you? That's what I have today.